Hello, and welcome to this HelloID provisioning product release video for September 2021. HelloID provisioning is a 100% born-in-the-cloud, easy-to-configure and maintain user provisioning solution. It helps organizations to fully automate their user lifecycle management in the network by connecting the HR or the SIS as a source system. Every change in this source is detected and processed into the network. No more worries about stale user accounts, accumulation of licenses or access rights, manual user management, or compliancy issues. Please note that in this video, we will only show the new functionality for the September 2021 release. Please go to docs.helloid.com or our YouTube channel for more videos. Let's get started. In this video, we'd like to start with a PowerPoint presentation and then demo the new functionalities for the September 2021 release. We have 3 new items in this release. First, change source connector to set PowerShell script in a dialog. With this new feature, we have changed our current script editor window, so it will be accessible inside a pop-out dialog instead of the previous editor. This means it will be more user-friendly to read and modify the scripting of a source PowerShell connector. Secondly, enforcement action overview. For this feature, we did some redesign on the current entitlement screen by changing and renaming the tab layout from which the data is being displayed to the end user. Thirdly, show reason why an action is triggered. With the introduction of our new enforcement action overview screen, we also added a feature that will indicate the origin responsible for the execution of a process. This can be very useful to track down the process and to find out what caused the action to be triggered. Let's demo these new features to show you how they work in detail. Let's start with the first item, the change of source connector to set PowerShell scripts in a dialog, which we have introduced in this release. In previous versions, if you went into the System tab, there would only be 2 script windows directly visible on this screen. We have now moved that into a separate dialog for both the person and department scripts. In this new screen, we also introduced a preview option. With this button, you can run a preview on the source system, which will return a limited set for preview purposes in case there's data coming from the provided script. A small remark on this one is to be aware that the functionality in this screen has been limited to only show the top 10 results. In case there are more results being returned from the scripts, we will show you a warning message to warn you about this active limitation. For example, there are more results coming, but we are only showing the first 10 out of our 12 results. This preview functionality is based on the same functionality as we did on our other connector scripts, just by simply defining the dry run condition in your script. We also did some more improvement to this PowerShell source system. Previously, when a new source system was added, we automatically performed an initial import of this newly added system. The functionality has now been replaced by the introduction of a new button called Import Raw Data, which can be used to manually perform the import of raw data. Be aware that this button will not automatically result in a snapshot, but will only import raw data into HelloID, which can be extremely useful when creating a new source connector and previewing the data before importing it into the HelloID vault. In this case, the data won't interfere with the current person set until a new snapshot is created. The last improvement we did to the PowerShell source connector is the introduction of a logging tab, which can be useful for building a new source connector, or just adding or changing an existing script. Also, a minor remark to this screen is that we're only showing the logging information of the last 3 imports that have been executed. Our next item is the enforcement action overview. For this feature, we have to move over to the entitlement screen, in which we did a lot of redesign and improvements. As you might notice, the overview tab has been replaced and is no longer visible here. We renamed the overview tab to Granted, and this will only show the overview of granted entitlements. We also removed the status column from this overview because the current state of the entitlements for this screen are granted as well. Before we continue, we have to start an enforcement. Now, as you can see, some of the rows are being displayed in an italic markup. And they also contain a lock icon and a play icon in here as well. So if we open this, we can see that it has already been granted because of the refreshing on the screen. But this is a pending action. The italics mean the entitlements are not granted yet, but will be granted soon after the process completes. When we refresh the screen, you will see that the process was already ongoing and the rows visible now indicate the state of the granted entitlement. These are normal, regular rows with no lock icons, italic text markup, and no play icon anymore. We also have an Actions overview, but because of the little amount of data we were processing, this screen is already empty, so we will move over to the History screen, which basically looks the same as the Actions screen. In this History screen, you can see all the actions that have been executed in the last 3 months, and also introduced a new column called Origin. From this column, you can see the origin related to the process. For example, this entitlement was granted because of a modified business rule or a change in contract data that modifies the rule. This is also applicable to account create or account update, permission grant, revoke. For example, a person has been updated due to a change in source data or an entitlement grant triggered by the change of a business rule or the change of contract data coming from the source, which is triggered by the matching condition of a business rule. This origin is also available when running an evaluation, so you can indicate and see what will cause the process to start up front. We also have moved the Retry button from the Overview into our History page, so this button is still available for retrying a process, and we introduced a new button which is inside the Granted tab and located under More Information. Here you can find the option to force an update permission or force an update account instead of what is responsible for this entitlement. This can be triggered for only one user, so you can force an update for a specific user only, and you still have the regular functionality on a target system to force update the accounts. This button is still available on the target system for updating all accounts related to this system. A minor improvement that we made is if you go to the History page, you will see a blue icon on the Refresh button, which indicates that the overview will automatically be refreshed by this toggle button. This setting will be stored in the local setting of your current browser, and with this new functionality, you have the ability to auto-refresh the overview. The icon is highlighted in blue, and you can see that it says that auto-refresh has been enabled. When we turn the toggle off, the icon will turn gray instead of blue. Now, when we retry this permission for Jane Doe, you will see that as the Retry button is clicked, a light bulb icon will appear, indicating that there are pending changes to be processed, but they are not visible yet because the screen has not been refreshed. When the page is refreshed, you will see that it has been executed successfully and the light bulb icon has disappeared. Thank you so much for watching. Please let us know if you have any additional questions. You can post your question in YouTube or send it to isupport@toolsforever.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive frequent updates about improvements and changes in HelloID. Have a wonderful day.